So, you're looking to become Orthodox, or maybe you've already began your journey. I bring to you today a stark warning that you must heed. For those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Alex, or my preferential name of Jerome, of whom is the saint I took upon when I was baptized 3 years ago into the Orthodox Church. His feet you can just about see in the icon above me. I am making this video today as a result of some conversations I've been involved with and also my own personal experiences, because there is currently a resurgence of people finding their way into the Christian faith, and specifically orthodoxy. This is a beautiful thing. This is fantastic. I'm so excited. And myself being a baby Orthodox, I'm 3 years in the church, I'm barely a toddler. So who am I to say new people when I'm myself am quite new? But I'm seeing more and more people each and every day looking to become catechumen, inquiring, and I really do feel like this is a good video to put out there to help understand what you're getting yourself into. Because there are a few different ways people go about finding orthodoxy and then inquiring into it. The main way I see a lot of people doing, men specifically, is the intellectual route, the historical, the theological, finding all the discrepancies between denominations, and that's great, that's fantastic, I appreciate that. But also the more sort of mystical, spiritual route where people are just kind of turning up to church, getting themselves involved, and taking whatever comes their way. Whatever way that is for you, all glory to God. There is, however, something incredibly important to take into account when taking your first few steps into the church, which has the fullness of truth, or at least the greatest fullness of truth possible. I say that last bit intentionally because it is crucial that we understand the magnitude of what it is that we're stepping into. We're not stepping into a moral code. We're not stepping into historical accuracy. We're not even stepping into theological tenets. We are stepping into the fullness of the church to the greatest degree that is possible in this world. Take a moment and sit with that. that is not a claim I make lightly. It is a claim that I truly believe and have experienced for myself. And the way that this is experienced in the beginning by the majority of people stepping into the church is by the difficulties that are revealed once those first few steps have been taken. This isn't just from my own personal experience. My priest himself has told me multiple times of cases where people have just been chrismated or they've just started inquiring and they've been attacked spiritually and they felt their life get a lot harder and their struggles have exacerbated and all manner of difficulties have just appeared out of nowhere. Obviously, he hasn't given me names, but it isn't just my priest. He's spoken to Father Andrew Stephen Damick, one of the hosts of Lord of Spirits, who experienced the exact same in the people that he has ministered to. It is a very, very common theme for those entering into the Orthodox Church to suddenly have their spiritual warfare be greatly magnified. And this is something that we need to take into account when looking to make these steps forward in our spiritual lives. There is a misconception I have seen that when we join the Orthodox Church, or take great steps towards spiritual growth, that we're going to be met with peace, love, joy, hope, optimism, virtue, everything great, fluffy unicorns and rainbows. I exaggerate. And that is true. But, very big but, it doesn't just happen. You have to endure certain trials, certain rites of spiritual passage, gauntlets of strengthening in order to attain the kingdom of heaven and its associated virtues and spiritual dispositions, of which I have only seen a glimpse after 3 years. Everyone is different. Everyone is different. And I want to set the tone before I continue that I can only really talk on my experience, okay? And everyone is different in terms of how they receive God's grace, how they are attacked spiritually. So don't take my testimony as gospel. Quite literally. That's the gospel, not what I'm saying. And also, I'm not saying this to scare you. I am elated if you have decided that you have chosen the Orthodox Church as your new spiritual home, or at least are inquiring. But the misconception of peace and happiness, etc., that people for some reason expect when joining the church can ultimately lead to a spiritual regression. If you join a church with the expectation of all this positivity and love and greatness, only to then be met by more hardship, that can ultimately have you do a 180 and turn out the door, because it's like, well, I thought my life was meant to get better and easier and more peaceful when I joined the church. And that can have you sort of doubt God's intentions, etc. So I say this as a warning, not to scare you. Please continue inquiring. Please keep joining the church. I beg you. It'll be the best decision you ever make. But it will be hard. It's probably going to suck for quite a long time. But as Father Alexander Schmemann says, it is a joyous struggle. It's not for nothing. It's not for nothing. Just as you go to the gym, you put on some heavy weight and you put yourself under the load. Like, in that moment, it's hard, it's difficult, but we know why we're doing it. I also want to mention that I'm not a spiritual father nor a spiritual guide. I'm talking purely from a layman's perspective. So any advice that I give, any theological concepts I speak on, take it with a pinch of salt. Bring it to your spiritual father. Do research from reputable sources. Not that I'm discrediting myself as a reputable source, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, back to the point. Spiritual warfare is real. It is very real. It is not mythologized. It is not fantastical. It's not a metaphor or symbolic. It is real. There are spiritual presences that do wage war on our souls. They will use worldly means to do this, whether through our psychology, whether through the material world, whether through illness, even. But the sources of these attacks and this warfare is very much existent in a plane that we cannot comprehend as humans. They are far more powerful than us. They are angels, after all. The evil one is an angel, a fallen one, but still has the power of an angel. Not quite to the extent of God, obviously. He is not omnipotent. But he still makes us look like ants. And the reason I say that is because it's something to take into account when your inevitable spiritual hardships begin, we have to accept that we are weak and soft, which isn't a bad thing. It's humility, it's acceptance, it's trust in God, because it's ultimately Him that is going to strengthen us, bestow courage upon us, and be the flaming sword that decapitates the demons trying to wage war in our hearts. Why I make this video is because at the beginning of your journey is when you are at a period of particular vulnerability. You're always going to be susceptible to some degree of spiritual attack. God willing, you strengthen your spiritual resolve, your diligence, watchfulness, and strength, and you become more resilient to the wiles of the evil one. But in the beginning, before you've had a chance to mature, you are vulnerable, especially. One of the main reasons for this is because when the evil one recognizes you are making positive steps towards God and away from Him, he will try harder, a lot harder. The way that manifests will be different per person, because the evil one, with his great power, and it is great, we must acknowledge this. We cannot be arrogant. We shouldn't fear him because we have Christ, but we should not be complacent and to think that he is a weakling. He knows us more than we know ourselves. As a powerful being in the spiritual plane, he can see things that we may not be illumined to yet, and he will use these things against us. So it's important that you recognize what your weaknesses are. I'm sure, as I've said that, a few things have popped into your mind. Maybe you have tendencies towards particular passions. Maybe there are certain behaviors you can't quite prevent yourself from doing all the time. If that is the case, quick plug here, check out my school course in the description below. It's a great place for Christians to overcome their obstacles on the spiritual path. Back to the video. So being in recognition of these things is important, because chances are he's going to use them against you. If it's lust you're struggling with, expect more thoughts. Expect more temptation. If it's something more physical, for example, an addiction to a certain narcotic or alcohol or gambling, something more based in matter, expect more temptation. If it's anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, expect more. Expect more. But the reason the evil one is permitted to do the things that he does is because it ultimately strengthens us. In fact, I had a fantastic conversation with my priest who said that when Adam and Eve were first created, they were walking with God, but they weren't united with God. I'm using the exact same hand gestures he did as well. So when the original fall happened, it created that divide, and that was Satan's work. It was the evil one's work. He created that rift between man and God. But then Christ took on human flesh, came down, bridged that gap, and united us with him. Right? So without the evil one, we wouldn't have been united to Christ. And the same happens at the microcosmic layer of our lives. Without despair, we may not call out to Christ for help and run to his embrace and grow in our strength with him. Pain is a very powerful way of developing a bond. He also used an analogy of a child that goes to bed angry without telling his parents that he loves him, only to then have a nightmare and run immediately to their arms. Like that passion, that pain is ultimately what brings us closer to Christ and has us recognize our weaknesses and faults to then illumine us and have us work on them, which is the entire spiritual journey. I'll talk more on this subject in a different video. I think I'm going a bit off subject, but it is important to note because that is a question many people have when they begin experiencing this warfare. But in the beginning, it's important to have your expectations set. And once again, I'm not trying to rain on your parade and promote orthodoxy as this doom and gloom life of suffering. It's never going to get better. I'm just saying the rewards, the kingdom of heaven that God has ready and waiting for you requires a baptism of fire. It requires a certain spiritual strength in order to receive. If he just dumped it on you now, you'd explode because you wouldn't be spiritually ready and open to embody such a grandiose display of spiritual profundity. So we must go through these periods of strengthening to become the people able to unite ourselves with God. That requires pain. That requires suffering. But it is voluntary. It is voluntary. So accept it. Embrace it. Recognize that it is God permitting these things to happen, as difficult as that can be at times, for your benefit. It is for your benefit. And when you notice the evil one trying harder, laugh. Laugh at him. It may sound stupid, but it's out of desperation he does this. It's out of desperation because he is so envious of the love he knows you will receive from God in pure spite and malice that he is doing these things, because he's a pitiful creature. And he hates it when that's acknowledged. Remember why he fell from heaven. Pride. What do proud people hate most? Being ridiculed. So laugh, seek encouragement, call upon God in those times where you feel most weak and vulnerable. And he will give you the strength to endure the gauntlet, the test, the arena of strengthening. Always remember, he doesn't burden you with anything you cannot handle. Try your hardest not to run from the pain. It's during those times that we want to doom scroll more. We want to play video games. We want to watch things we shouldn't. We should overeat and engage in the passions. And once again, that's the evil one. He will attack you spiritually. And then he will also try and lead you to the escape, to the coping mechanisms. We have to face it. We have to face this. Because it's ultimately the darkness within us being used against us in this warfare. And that's where the evil one essentially shoots himself in the foot. Because by using these things against us, he is revealing them to us. Hey, here is a weakness you have. Look how painful it is. Well, now you know you have that weakness. Right? God can transmute, transfigure any darkness into light. We have to be receptive to it. There's a silver lining in every struggle, no matter how painful. And as soon as you recognize it, the illumination, the shining of the light in the dark crevasses of your soul, where the demons love to operate in secret, is enough for them to scatter. And then by addressing what they're using in their schemes against you, that's when they are forced out of your heart by the grace of God. Take this as encouragement. As someone that once chrismated endured a month of spiritual torture and reached lows of great darkness, I'm very happy I went through it. And I'm very grateful to God. He gave me the strength to endure it, and the fortitude, the resilience, the spiritual awareness that came as a result of having endured it. Things still happen. Warfare still begins unexpectedly. But the beginning stages of your journey will likely be tumultuous in ways specific to you. So guard yourself, be prepared. If I haven't scared you, and you still want to take that step into orthodoxy, please do so. Seek counsel from your priest. If I have scared you away, and you now no longer feel like this is the life for you, I do apologize. It is not my intention, as I said earlier, to push anyone away from the church. But I would rather people waited until they felt like they were ready to take on such a grand challenge and life than to plunge themselves into the deep end, be hit with things that take them to their boiling point and ultimately push them away from the church. All right? I'm very much having to use my discernment in terms of how I word things with this, and so please forgive me if I have spoken out of line or instilled any unnecessary fear. That has not been my intention. I just want people to be aware of this reality that so many people face and will continue to face. Always remember, it's for your own benefit, the struggles. I am a completely different man of who I was 3 years ago. And I have God to thank for that. I have the struggles to thank for that. And I pray that you can experience the same in the beautiful life that is being an Orthodox Christian. God bless. Thank you for watching.